will back to strike. Fans are roaring, feel the cheer. Queens of York, the atmosphere. Hype the crowd that never tame. Mets PostGame Show brings the flame.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Mets PostGame Show right here on the channel and on X. And once again, the New York Mets lose another one where they scored nothing in the middle innings and tried this valuable comeback, and nothing happens at the end as the Mets lose 5-2 and lose a series to the Cincinnati Reds coming out of the All-Star break, and just another pitiable performance. I mean, it started with Clay Holmes, and everybody can say, oh, it's a quality start. You need more from that. You need more from your starting rotation. Clay Holmes' middle name is 5 1/3. All right? It's not good enough. Look at his line. 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned runs. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. That is not good enough. The offense, typical offense of nothing. Come out to a 2-0 lead. Carbon copy of yesterday. Nothing from the third inning to the eighth inning. This has been the MO of the Mets offense all season. I don't care if it's Pete Alonso, I don't care if it's Juan Soto, I don't care if it's Brandon Nimmo, Lindor, everybody. Multiple times in this game, their biggest hitters are up and did not do the job. That is a problem. I don't care who you bring in here. If those guys are not going to hit, you're not going to win. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace when it comes to what is going on with this Mets offense. I don't know. We're at game 99 of the season. We're playing a 100 game tomorrow. 63 games to go. And this offense has not taken off the way it should have for most of the year. This has been a lackluster offense, and I don't care who you bring in here, guys. Name your guy. Is that one guy really going to make a difference with this offense? When you got guys batting 210 or less with runners in scoring position, when Jeff McNeil is one of your best hitters or runners in scoring position with 2 outs? When Lindor is bad with runners in scoring position, Nimmo's bad with runners in scoring position, Alonso's bad now with runners in scoring position. McNeil is one of your best hitters with runners in scoring position. You are not going to win games. You are not. Now, I don't think Clay Holmes pitched well at all. I think this is just what Clay Holmes is, and it's not good enough. I'm sorry to say, but you got to score runs. You're averaging less than 4 runs a game over this 36. The Mets have lost 20 out of their last 30 games. That is why they're on the verge of being 10 games under 500 by tomorrow. 10 games over 500 by tomorrow. But excuse me. It's just absolute lack of understanding what type of team David Stern's put together here. It really is. Like, I don't think anybody thought this offense would be as bad as it is. But again, when you got Alvarez in the minor leagues, who basically can't hit his weight, you got Swaggy V, who is a shell of himself. You got Brett Beatty, who showed good signs, but nothing special. Ronnie Mauricio makes an error, a throwing error, that would have ended the inning, and the game would have still been 3-2, but it ended up being much worse. Bad at-bats from multiple guys in this lineup, and you continue to talk about the fact that when things go wrong, everything goes wrong for this Mets team. They had multiple breaks in this game where they couldn't get it done. Again, Juan Soto was about 5 feet short of tying the ball game, but this has been typical of the Mets. They find a way in the 9th inning or sometimes the 8th inning, try to fight their way back in a game where they should be winning the game. Both times in this series, they went out to a 2-0 lead. They scored both games 2 runs in back-to-back innings in the first and second inning. Then the third inning, 0. 4th inning, 0. 5th inning, 0. 6th inning, 0. 7th inning, 0. And 8th inning, 0. You can't win that way. You cannot win that way. You just can't. I just don't understand the good at bats that they have in the first inning and the second inning, the eighth inning and the ninth inning. But from 3 innings, 3 to 7, they look like they never played baseball before. What is going on with this team? And everybody can talk about firing the hitting coaches. It's not the hitting coaches, guys. These guys are at the plate. These are professional guys making $20+ million, the guys that we're talking about. Why are we blaming Luis Torrens? Why are we blaming guys in the bottom of the order? Luis Torrens is the backup catcher. Blame Alvarez for not being a good player. That's why Luis Torrens is playing. That's the problem. When you actually don't have a third baseman and none of them hit, that's why you're losing. This is the problem. Like, we start focusing in on the guys like Luis Torrens, guys like that, the guys at the bottom of the order, backup guys. They're backups for a reason. We all know that. But blame the guys that were the starters that couldn't keep their job because they sucked. This has been a problem all season. And again, I've talked about this core for a long time. I go back 3 years ago when I started, almost 4 years ago when I started this channel. The core that everybody wanted to sign Nimmo and sign Pete Alonso and bring Lindor into the mix and Jeff McNeil, this is the same core that has been one of the most streaky cores in all of baseball when it comes to their offense. They do not put offensive games together as an offense. They don't do it. You'll see Nimmo get hot for 25 games and nobody else. Then Lindor gets hot, then nobody else. McNeil gets hot, nobody else. Alonso gets hot, nobody else. This has been the problem with this core. Now, multiple GMs, multiple president of baseball ops have signed these guys to long-term deals. So you're in bed with the same guys that have been streaky as a combined core. This has been a problem. Not only do every prospect that you wanted to play third base on this team and be on this team are now getting completely exposed at the major league level, regardless of if they're still not ready or they're just not good. You're exposing them at the major league level. You're losing all their value except for service time. And you're going 12 days into the trade deadline, and we're talking about no offense from third base, no offense from center field, no offense from catcher. So one bat's going to make a difference? Are you absolutely insane? And oh, by the way, you got untouchables in your farm system that are not going to be traded. So let me find out what the Mets are really going to do here. And again, they're going to be a lot of mid deals, and you'll be satisfied because the prospect huggers around Mets world will be excited. Yet, failed prospect after failed prospect after failed prospect are coming up here and show they can't hit major league pitching. They can't play defense. As the Mets have a merry-go-round of prospects that come up and can't play the big league game. Mauricio can't throw a ball to second base. You got multiple guys that are bad fundamentals that are prospects, by the way, or former prospects, is the problem. And I've said this for a long time. Prospects are suspects. That's just it. I will take a proven player over a prospect every single day. Every single day. Unless you're in a rebuild mode where you're not really going to win anyway and you want to see if these guys can establish themselves in the big leagues, fine. Nobody cares. You're not worried about winning games because you're in rebuild mode. But you're not in rebuild mode. This shouldn't be trial and error with every single infield prospect we have. It just doesn't make sense. This is trial and error. Mark Vientos was supposed to be the third baseman. It was quickly figured out that he is not the player that he was last year. And that could be a big fluke. It could have been a one-hit wonder. Because Vientos has not adjusted to what Dave pitched him. The one weakness he's always had, and he had it last year, was throwing breaking balls on the outside corner and he's swinging at it. The difference was It always takes a year for some reason for teams to figure it out. It takes a full year to get the book on them, and they adjust the following year. But the big difference is when they throw that fastball, Vientos used to crush it. Now he's behind of it because he's so aware of those breaking balls outside that he's late on the fastball. He is not adjusting to what teams are adjusting. That isn't a big leaguer. Sorry to say. And on top of that, he lost his third base job from a guy in Mauricio who isn't very good defensively either. And then you got Brett Beatty, who rarely plays third base anymore, who's probably a better third baseman than anyone that you can think of, isn't very good either. And let's not talk about Luisano Acuna. Is Acuna even on this team? Yeah, he is. But nobody cares because we don't even see him. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? The fact that we have untouchables in our farm system is embarrassing in all aspects of running a team. You are supposedly should be a top 5 team in baseball. You are in a playoff spot. You are supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball. Regardless if you believe that or not, that's what you're supposed to be. The fact that your team has multiple holes, which shouldn't be surprising by anybody. If you're surprised by it, you're an idiot. And you know what? I'm going to be very blunt about it because I talked about this day one of the season. When you go into the offseason not getting what you need or getting, C guys for your needs, what do you think you're going to need at the deadline? So you're not really saving money in the long run because, you gave Manaea, a short-term deal worth $20 million, or you give Clay Holmes, $12, $13 million a year. You're saving money. Actually not, because you have to bring in more guys at the deadline and add more payroll because you didn't do a job in the offseason. That's the problem. When you don't do it in the offseason, it leaves a very big hole in multiple areas of your team come trade deadline. How could this not be foreshadowed? Especially by Met fans. Again, you guys drank the Kool-Aid. I took a sip. You guys guzzled it down. Right? I remember a lot of you guys talking in 2 months of season. Oh, look at the best ERA in baseball. Look at this. Look at that. Yeah, okay. And now they're no good at all. It's a problem. It is a complete problem. And I have no problem going with the prospects. But how long do we keep on going with these guys? You know what? They need a Eugenio Suarez. They need a Jose Ramirez. They need somebody, but they won't do it. They need a top-line starter. They won't do it. And great, maybe you'll get a high-leverage reliever. I know, because that's going to excite people. You're going to get a high-leverage reliever that you probably can't get to because we have one of the best closers in baseball that we can never get to. And that is on the starting pitching, who can't go deep. That is on the rest of the bullpen, that is lackluster at best. That is on David Stearns for putting this pitching staff together. This is a team effort all around of bad baseball. And thank God the Phillies can't get out of their own way. Because if they were actually playing well, we would be a lot of games out of first place. Thank God the Phillies are getting in their own way because they can't win games either. But here's one thing I know. Dave Dombrowski is going to go all in at the deadline. I do know the Chicago Cubs are going to go all in at the deadline. And the Dodgers always go all in at the deadline. So the Mets are going to be twiggling their thumbs, holding on to untouchable prospects that will probably be mid-players at best. I'm sorry. Like, if these guys were that good, these untouchable prospects, they would be helping this team. Why aren't they helping this team? Who is stopping them on this roster? I talked about Jet Williams in the pregame. If he's so good and untouchable, put his fucking ass in center field. He can't be worse than what you're getting from Tyrone Taylor. If Jonah Tong and Noah McLean, if Brandon Sproat are that good and untouchable, then why aren't they helping this rotation in June? Either the Mets don't believe in them that much, or they're giving a big fuck you to all their fans, thinking that they're that good, or maybe they're playing a Houdini act, acting like they're untouchable, and maybe the Mets are actually going to trade these guys to bring in better players. That would be the Houdini act of the century. I don't believe it because David Stearns, God forbid, you trade any of these guys that have been on our farm system year after year after year after year. I think I was in high school when I heard about Ronnie Mauricio. Yes, that's a joke. Jet Williams, it felt like he's been in the minors for 14 years. Bring these guys up. But they're not doing that. The biggest needs of this team you have in your farm system, but you're not using them to help this team. And then you're going to tell me they're untouchable? And I'm supposed to be okay with that? Because why? 2026 and 2027? There won't be no baseball in 2027 because of the CBA. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You're not bringing up the prospects that you have in your system that can fill needs. And I'm not saying they're going to work out. But if you're claiming they're untouchable, bring them up and see what they can do. That's not happening. And some will say, well, some of these guys are in AA. So what? AA players, AA is basically the new AAA. The best players are in AA. In AAA, it's just a formality that they're in AAA. Like, I just don't understand what we're doing here. Like, what are we doing here? You know, everybody's like, oh, we need Jared Duran. Okay, who we trading? It ain't anybody that I think Stearns wants to give up. So what are we doing here? I mean, David Stearns is getting you know, ringers. He's not even getting a phone call picked up. Because if you're going to say these guys are untouchable, why would teams pick up the phone? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, we bring up 47 infielders that are not any good, and you can take whatever excuse you want to make for these guys. None of these guys are any good. They're not. Acuna is a base runner, a glorified base runner, and a defensive replacement. Mauricio is not very good. He's batting .210. Beatty has shown signs, but he's I get a little below average. And then you got Vientos, who is lost. So these are four guys that were all in your top 10 in prospects that are not good, losing value by the day. And you could say Acuna is probably not losing value because the Mets are so afraid to put him in the lineup, let alone he's on this roster wasting a spot, which doesn't make sense to me, but that's not my job. And we continue to act like everything's okay. You prospect huggers should be loving this because you clearly don't want to win. What, you're getting to see Mauricio, you get to see Vientos, you get to see Beatty. You might see Acuna actually show his face in the dugout. Hello. This is what we're doing here, guys. Prospect huggers, you're out there. I know some of you were in the chat. Some of you were in the chat. Some of you were on X bullshitting yourselves and on social media. This is your team. This is what you wanted. So don't complain when you're losing. When you prospects fail, own up to it. You prospect huggers should be loving this. Ooh, goody. Yay. Watch Vientos with his big-ass sunglasses. You might as well take them off because he can't see the damn ball. Now, Brett Beatty, I think he has been average. I mean, nothing special, but, I mean, at least a bench player, at the very least. I mean, he should be starting third base every day. He's shown more signs than any of these guys. I just don't understand. I'm sorry. Prospect hugging is not what it used to be. All right? There is no David Wright in this mix. Now, I don't know what Jet Williams is going to be. I don't. He might be one of the good ones. Who knows? But you know who I know who's good? Eugenio Suarez. I don't have to wait for him to be good. Jose Ramirez. I don't have to wait for him to be good. Those guys are good. I am not saying that those guys, or at least Jose Ramirez is available. We know Eugenio Suarez is available. If you haven't seen a report, it was the Brewers, Phillies, and Yankees, I believe, that are in on Eugenio Suarez. The Mets weren't named, which is hilarious to me, but they're not named. But that's what happens when you got 14 prospects that play the same position and none of them work out because you kind of let them lose value. You're playing them all sporadically, which shows you you don't believe in any of them. Because if you believed in at least two of them, they'd be playing more often than the other guys. But because you don't believe in them, they play all sporadically. Oh, Acuna maybe once a week. Beatty will play second today. He'll play third today. Next day. DH and Vientos because he can't play third base anymore. Mauricio has been consistently third base, but Brett Beatty will play there today. That just shows you these guys are not good. Right, Sanders? You know what? Brett Beatty's a keeper. You know how many people did not say that 3 months ago? That's the problem. This is the problem. We didn't trade Brett Beatty a few years ago to get a really good arm in the rotation from the Marlins. It was God knows how many guys the Marlins pitching in the rotation that we could have got over the years for Brett Beatty. We never did it because, he was untouchable too. So let's stop fooling ourselves here that prospects are going to make the difference. They're clearly not going to make the difference this year. We're July 19th, 12 days away from the deadline, and not one of these prospects, pitching prospects, other than Tidwell, has shown up, has pitched in the majors. And these are your untouchables. Now you're telling me not one of these guys can get an opportunity when you had no Manaea, no Montas, no Senga, and you were throwing openers after openers, bad pitchers after bad pitchers, but those guys aren't warranted to give you a start or two, maybe three, over the course of a month when he had no pitching. So do you believe in them? Oh, so now we're going to worry about development when every time these guys come up, they don't look developed to me. They look breaking ball, adjust the fastball. Brandon Nimmo in that last at bat. Did you see him? He was looking breaking ball and adjusted to the fastball and looked stupid on that pitch. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of these fools about the prospect hugging. Right? When Pete Alonso come up, this team wasn't very good. So it's understandable. Guys like Brandon Nimmo, who was a fourth outfielder when he first came up. Right? This team wasn't very good. Jeff McNeil, same thing. So you get these guys that develop while your team is bad. Makes sense. You can't have so many positions being developed and players develop at the major league roster. You got more than that. You got 4 levels of the minor leagues where they should be developing in. Yet they look underdeveloped. They look like minor leaguers. This is a problem. This is the problem. My biggest concerns when everybody was, throwing me to the wolves and saying I'm negative while we're winning was bringing up the concerns all year. While we were 20 plus games over 500, I still was concerned about the things that are haunting us right now. And Sanders, I don't want to hear about Alvarez. All right, I don't care about the home runs in the minor leagues. Is this defense better? Probably not. That's why he's still down there. He wasn't down there because of his offense, which is hilarious to me because his offense sucks. He hit 10 home runs in the minor leagues. Go back to when Brett Beatty was hitting all those home runs when they brought him down multiple times. I don't care about home runs in the minors. You know what that's not doing? That's not helping us at the major league level. Now, I think Alvarez is a confidence-ridden guy where I think he just needs confidence at the plate. So maybe that does help us. Who knows? But the Mets told us multiple times they didn't send Francisco Alvarez down because of his offense. It was his defense. That's why they sent him down, which is hilarious to me. But, hey, I'm not David Stearns. I'm not the developmental team or whatever they were using. That's clearly not working. Excuse me, guys. It would be nice if the Mets were actually winning, so I won't lose my voice over the first week of games after the All-Star break, as I'm sick as a dog right now. And I'm sorry if I look really red, which I normally do, but sorry if I'm coughing. Sorry that my voice is crackling. I am very sick right now. But I thought, since I know Chris has been very busy these last couple of days, I wanted to do shows just so you guys hear a voice about this Mets team. But and Sanders, go ahead, fire Eric Chavez. It's not going to change nothing. It's an organizational philosophy. It is not Eric Chavez. Fire him. Who cares? You want to fire Barnes too? Go ahead. It's not the hitting coaches. Guys, the hitting coaches are an excuse for fans to use when guys are not hitting. These guys in the offseason use their own coaches, own hitting coaches. They're constantly using all types of hitting instructors, not named Eric Chavez or Barnes. It's just not it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, stop it. Like, I don't care about the hitting coaches. When the player gets up to the plate, I'm not concerned about what did Eric Chavez tell him to his face. These guys are professionals. These guys make a lot of money. They know what they're doing. They're just not good at it. So, well, Dwayne, the difference, and, bringing up 2015 is interesting because, yes, Cespedes trade really got us over the top. But even then, we won that division, 90 games that year? The Nationals fell apart. Like, let's not act like this Mets team in 2015 basically won like 97 games and was on their way to bigger and better things. Like, it was weird how that season took place. Wilmer Flores was traded. He was not traded. I mean, look at the guys we had on our team. Lucas Duda was, God. Geez. Lagares at center field, Tejada at shortstop, a broken down David Wright. Like, it wasn't good. Like, it wasn't a good team. Cespedes, ended up being there, and he was so good and basically carried his team. But don't we have these guys here? There was no such thing as Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Nimmo on that 2015 team. It was Cespedes and everybody else. So how did they do it? And I know pitching was really good. Oh, look, starting pitching was actually good. God forbid the Mets have that. But this team has better guys than they ever had in 2015. Right? It was the right trades that Alderson made. It started with Uribe and Johnson. Then it was Clippard that helped the bullpen. And then it was Cespedes. Really good trades. The Mets needed the bench. The Mets needed the bullpen arm or two. The Mets needed the big bat. They got everything they needed that year. The one year where Alderson actually woke up and realized he was a GM of a team. And that took to the final hour to get the big bat. Yeah, Dwayne, pitching was elite, but that wasn't expected. Like, there was no guarantee of these guys being that good. Remember, Harvey was on a innings limit before Harvey, the team talked to Harvey and be like, listen, we need you. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of things happened in that moment. And yeah, it hit with runners score, but it wasn't a big home run hitting team either. And we are shocked by these guys like Alonso, like Nimmo, like Lindor. These guys have been, streaky most of their Mets career. Like, it's not surprising here. Why are we surprised by this? This is a conversation every year with this team. The same guys, the guys that are supposed to be carrying this team. They have had long stretches of cold streaks, and when they are hot, they're never hot together. That's a problem. And I always said that this core doesn't seem like it fits well. I've always said that. Now, again, multiple GMs, multiple guys running this organization have signed guys at different times and extended guys. So they made your bed with these core guys. So you got to live with it. Everybody wants Alonso to sign an extension. Great. So now you're just going to keep this core together for the rest of time. Yet they've won nothing. And we praise them. This is the problem with Met fans. The one biggest gripe I have with Met fans is that we glorify these guys who've won nothing. That's okay. Too many people are talking about Pete Alonso's home run Mets record. Like, who gives a shit? And even David Wright, and that's why I love David Wright. Even David Wright, in his biggest moment today, getting his number retired, he says, the one thing I didn't give you was a World Series championship. That's what he said. He put a negative undertone in his speech because he knew how much it meant to him and Met fans. And he regretted that. He said that. And we glorified Nimmo. We glorify Alonso. We glorify Lindor, McNeil, who won nothing. That gave us what? Nothing. The goal is to win a World Series. The goal isn't to have years like last year where Grimace and OMG took over the stage when the team was trying to make a World Series. And this team wasn't even supposed to be good or even make the playoffs. Why is it when the expectations are high, this team continues to fail? Who is the same names in high expectation years and continue to fail? 2022, you want to go back to that year? Who was on that team? Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. What's happening this year? Yeah, we get Juan Soto. Okay, great. But it's the same problem. It's the same problem. We continue to glorify these guys who don't win. Individual stats and good stats, including Juan Soto this year, are so individually driven, it's embarrassing. Pete Alonso, who is excellent with runners in scoring position, now they show his numbers and they still look good. But you know how much better they were 2 months ago? They have drastically went down. Jeff McNeil, ever since come back from injury, has the best numbers with runners in scoring position. Juan Soto bad, Lindor bad, Nimmo bad. What are we doing here? We glorify losing as Met fans. That is a big problem within itself. Right? This is why David Wright is so humble. This is why fans love him. Because he always feels bad that he never brought a championship to this Mets fan base. It's about winning a World Series. If it's not, and this goes from prospect hugging Met fans to David Stearns and whatever he's trying to do, I couldn't even tell you the plan. We glorify losing. Glorify losing. Last year, everybody was like, oh, it was so fun. It was nice. Yeah, because it was unexpected. It's always fun in the moment, but when you pull back a little bit and look at the bigger picture, it was a problem within itself. Pete Alonso was one strike away from Met fans completely turning on him if he didn't hit that home run. Lindor, the first 2 months of the season, you know what Met fans were saying about him? Now they sing My Girl. Brandon Nimmo had his best first half of his career and had one of his worst second half of the season in his career in the same year. I just don't understand why Met fans act like this is okay. And again, the prospect huggers, where are you? You're not really in my chat anymore. What happened? What's going on? Did they hurt your feelings? Because you should love this. You got Mauricio. You got Beatty. You got Acuna. You have Vientos. They're up here. And the Mets are losing. They have been nothing of what we were expecting of any of them. Great. I'm sorry. Like, the prospect hunters should be like, all right, look at this. Great job. This is what we were looking for. You'd rather see prospects fail than actually have the Mets get better players in here and win. Right? It wasn't prospects coming up in 2015 that made the difference. It was trades needed, proven players, veterans. Yes, Michael Conforto came up, but even when he came up, it didn't drastically change the offense. It made it a tad bit better, but he fell in line of bad offense until we got Yoenis Cespedes. So don't tell me trades at the deadline don't matter. Big trades matter. And again, when the Mets have a lackluster deadline and the Phillies get much better and the Dodgers get much better and probably the Cubs, what are you going to say then? And then when you lose to those teams, what are you going to do? Well, you wanted to get a guy like Mitch Keller. Well, he's on the Cubs now. Well, the Dodgers are in on Eugenio Suarez or the Phillies. Well, look who beat us. Well, the guy on the Phillies. The Mets sure got him. Bullpen arms. Well, we get C-level guys? Oh, great. The A-level guy just struck out 3 batters in the top of the 9th in a playoff game. This is not a shock. There's got to be a big move here. And I don't think a big move in the bullpen is going to drastically change this team. Our best bullpen arm never gets into the game because the Mets never get to him. And that's Edwin Diaz. So what is an 8th inning guy going to do when you're down by 3 or 4 runs? That is a high leverage guy. This is the mindset where the Mets have brainwashed fans. And they fall for the bullshit. Bullpen arms make no difference if you're constantly using 4 or 5 guys every single day. That's why Clay, 5 1/3 homes, is a problem. Why Kodai Senga throws 150 pitches before the 6th inning and he's out of the game. That's a problem. When David Peterson needs to be a stopper, needs to be an ace, and needs to go deep into games, and he does it from time to time, but why are we expecting David Peterson to do it? Didn't you just give $20 million to Manaea? Didn't you just, glorify Kodai Senga with the fork pitch? I mean, come on. Ernie, why? Because I am truthful. I'm not going to lie to you guys because I understand supporting my channel, which I appreciate, but the same way you guys call me out, I call you guys out. This is a back and forth here. I tell people this all the time. If you don't like it, you can go to another channel. You don't have to watch me or listen to me. I say this all the time. And here's the problem. You don't like to hear the truth. And that's fine. That is fine. That is the problem. Because everybody nitpicks around acting like, oh, it's no big deal. The Mets are winning. And the same problems I've talked to you about in April are coming to roost over the last 2 months. And now you're shocked. I was truthful to you. I'm not lying to you guys. The same way you can call me out, I will call you out. This is a back and forth. I don't block people on my channel. I don't tell moderators to, they do their jobs if they want to block somebody. But I don't click the button and block people. I just don't do it. I don't have no need to do it. Again, if you're racist, sexist, or just being a complete dick to everybody, you will be blocked. But if you disagree with me, I'm not going to block you. What the hell is the point of a channel if you're not going to have disagreements? But it's not about you guys supporting me. It's about criticizing fans where they're acting like they didn't say what they said. Again, if you're going to come on my channel, I hope you criticize me. I hope you do. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But there's a lot of people on this channel that I've been talking with, and you guys have been watching probably prior to this year, even longer, where I've been saying things, especially this year, the exact same thing. I have not changed my way and my thoughts and my opinions. The same problems I had in April or in March when I was in a Houston hotel for opening day weekend is the same thing I'm talking about now. I talked about this team's going to need starting pitching. I talked about this team needing bullpen. They need that. Oh, and now they need a bat, which shouldn't have been a thought because this lineup was supposed to be good. Now you need 3 things when in the beginning of the year, you probably needed 2. Now you need all 3, which is almost near impossible to get better at every one of those positions. So it's not you can support my channel, but if you don't like criticism, then the whole point of a discussion is to have disagreements as well. You're not agreeing on everything. That's not criticism. That's a disagreement. I don't criticize people. I'm disagreeing with you. But you can't just show up on the channel and, make all these, drastic opinions and turns and say, oh, well, and then when things are going wrong for the exact thing you were talking about, you don't show up on purpose. Because where Mauricio was hitting, all the, playing well, the same guys that were loving these guys were all up in the comments. Now they're nowhere to be found. So I'm sorry. Explosive, I guess I was shocked, but you know what? I love the ceremony so much that I didn't care at that point. At that point, you know what? No, I just didn't care. Like, it would have been cool, but I'm not gonna lie. I might seem like a negative Nancy and a guy who's always angry. I'm really not. I promise you. Ask anybody who's ever met me in ball games. I am a generally nice person and a good guy. And not a loudspeaker at all. I tell you that, I swear to God. But this team fires me up, which it should fire you up, especially when they're playing bad, especially when they tell you that this team is better than what they are. I literally had tears in my eyes during that ceremony. That was my childhood in a nutshell. When some of you might have grown up when Tom Seaver pitched, or in the 80s when the Mets ran this town. And that was your childhood. David Wright was my childhood. So all those memories came back. That montage that they showed made me had tears in my eyes. That shit mattered to me. And it's frustrating because there's so many things. Yeah, Paulo, exactly. They were all killing Alonso until that home run. They all were ready to turn on him before that home run. Now you can't talk bad about Pete Alonso. And again, this is not Pete Alonso's fault. Now, is he part of the problem? Sure. But he's been better than others. Pete Alonso doesn't deserve criticism, and I will not give it to him. But other guys do. I don't expect Pete Alonso to continue to carry his team for 162 games when you got guys named Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo. By the way, those guys are making a lot of money. Just like Pete Alonso. Excuse me, guys. I'm not going to have no voice tomorrow, guys. That's going to suck. And yeah, maybe they weren't going to play Bregman $40 million. I understand that. And again, I understand going with Mark Vientos. I completely understand that. But I am not on board what they did with the rotation. I am not on board what they did with the bullpen. Again, can you guys stay on top of all the bullpen moves every single day of David Stearns? Gary Cohen just talked about it today. Oh, guess what, guys? The Mets made another bullpen move. Another roster move, and it's been the bullpen. That is the problem. And I don't know what the hell is going on with the weather. It's like a yellowish, weird look to Jesus Lord. The South is weird, man. I'm sorry. Like, it's like a yellow haze with thunder. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's like apocalyptic. It's weird. I'm sorry. Caught me off guard. I just looked out the window. I'm like, what the hell is that? South is weird, man. I don't get it. All right. So, yeah, Dwayne, injuries happen. But I also saw this forecoming. Go back to the offseason. Go back to all the Mets hot stoves. I talked about Sean Manaea changing his mechanics, changing the way he throws, his arm angle. Like, that was an injury waiting to happen. That's on the Mets for not realizing that. And what, you saved a couple of years on other guys you could have got. And I was fine with Sean Manaea, but Sean Manaea shouldn't have been just a big move. It should have been another big move with it. I didn't like the Clay Holmes signing as a starter. Stupid. It's clearly showing right now. When was the last time Clay Holmes pitched 6 innings? Was it May? That's a joke. The pitching has not been good since May. And we can talk about the injuries. That's also a problem with the players you brought in. Kodai Senga, a soft tissue injury waiting to happen. Sean Manaea went out with an oblique. Okay, shit happens. Is it okay because you only gave him $20 million and not somebody else that gave you $26 million too? Yeah, Dolo, you're not having a Garrett Crochet with Holmes. Holmes would never beat Garrett Crochet. This is why you make a trade for Garrett Crochet. But, untouchable prospects. Even though I think Garrett Crochet would help you a hell of a lot more than any of these damn prospects right now. That's why you trade guys for a Garrett Crochet. I just don't get it, guys. The Mets can't move, and this is the problem with what the Mets are going through right now. The fact that we don't know what the Mets are going to do, right? We know their needs, but we have no idea what Stearns is going to do. There is no clear road to go down where we say, okay, this is what he's going to do. We have no idea. We have no idea. You can't mess with Clay Holmes, throwing him in the bullpen or not, because you got to get a guy in a rotation better than him for him to get moved to the bullpen. It doesn't make sense to do that. You can't get a guy at the level of Clay Holmes or less and throw Clay Holmes in the bullpen. How does that help? So Clay Holmes can get overused in the bullpen? It just doesn't make sense. So I have no, at least with Sandy Alderson or Billy Epler, they had a lane. And we might not have agreed with the lane that they were going through to get what they needed at the deadline, even if we didn't agree with it. I didn't agree about getting Vogelback, Ruff, and Naquin, but he got needs of this team. Now, it didn't work out. I didn't like it. Some people did, some people didn't. But there is nobody confident. When you constantly hear stories and reports, even the reporters have no idea what David Stearns is going to do. But I know what Dave Dombrowski is going to do. I know what the Cubs are going to do. I know what the Dodgers are going to do. And I know what Brian Cashman is going to do at the Yankees. Now, Brian Cashman seems like Yankee fans always kill Brian Cashman, but he makes moves. And he goes out and gets players. Now, it might not be the players you want, but he'll get you players. I can't have C-level moves on this team and get me excited. I need B-level players or better. And those are top 5 guys on the market in each position of need for the New York Mets. You better not get none of those top 5 guys in the bullpen. You better get 1 or 2 at the least. You need a big rotation arm. I'm sick and tired of waiting for these guys, and all I hear, Clay Holmes developing. Sean Manaea, we got to be careful. It's not even about his oblique. It's about his elbow. We got to be careful with his elbow. Oh, great. We got to worry about his elbow every start now. Kodai Senga, don't let him try to cover first base. He might pull a hammy. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? At least when a guy throws the ball and he gets Tommy John, at least he actually made a pitching motion to hurt himself. I just don't understand. Yeah, easy. And I don't even think that's a good thing. I'm glad reporters don't know what Stearns is going to do. Yeah, that might sound good on the surface, but deep down, do you really trust David Stearns making the moves necessary? And again, I truly believe those reports John Heyman wrote about Mets prospect untouchables, Jet Williams, Sproat, McLean, Tong, 4 of your top 5 prospects. If that is the case, there is not one big deal you can actually make to make this team better. And again, guys, I don't care. Like, bring in the 2 best bullpen arms on the market. Do you really think that's changing a team? If you're going to get, a half-ass guy for center field for a bat and maybe a middle of the road starting pitcher, you think that's going to make a difference? Because not one of these starters can go past, get into the 6th inning and finish the 6th inning. I said this, and my dad is a witness, as my dad's hanging out with me. Clay Holmes, every time 4th inning comes, he'll throw 25 to 30 pitches. He'll come in the 5th, get a 1-2-3 inning. Now his pitch count is up to 75, 80 pitches, and he can't get out of the 6th inning. And he puts trouble on the bases every single time for a bullpen arm to try to get out of it. And that's not a recipe for success, guys. Every single time. Explosive. How do you fix runners in scoring position at the deadline when you have Juan Soto, when you have Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor? How do you do that? I'll tell you. They got to do it themselves. There is nobody that is going to drastically help this team if those guys, I don't care if you bring Duran, I don't care if you bring Suarez. Those guys could hit their life away runners in scoring position. But if those other 4 guys don't do the job, what's that going to change? It's up to the 4 guys I just mentioned to be better in those spots. Don't look for a trade deadline acquisition. This isn't looking for a Yoenis Cespedes type deal with an offense we know wasn't good in 2015. When Yoenis Cespedes is the guy you want with runners in scoring position. You want at the plate with runners in scoring position. You want Nimmo and Alonso and Lindor and Soto up at runners in scoring position. They getting paid like run producers. I said, bring in Josh Naylor. Is that going to make a difference? If those guys are playing a little bit better, sure. But the bad at bats continue. It's very annoying. And, again, I said it earlier in the stream. Thank God the Phillies can't get out of their own way as they lost again today. They're playing bad, keeping the Mets around. For what reason, I have no idea. And it is July 19th, guys. We're less than 2 weeks away from the deadline. I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, and guys, to be completely honest with you, and guys, I don't lie to you. I promise that. Maybe you think that I criticize people and all that fun stuff, right? It's nothing personal, but I expect the criticism right back if I'm wrong. I truly believe the big deals are going to come from the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees. Teams that definitely nationally we possibly can face. And if everything works out for the Mets, World Series bound. I truly don't believe that David Stearns is going to do what's necessary. And again, I hope that report from John Heyman is so wrong that it blows my mind that David Stearns makes big moves. Because there's no doubt in my mind, oh, they're winning now. Great. So the Phillies are winning. Great. Wonderful. This team needs 2 big moves. Remember, I was talking this go back a couple of weeks ago. Me and Chris constantly on streams. And I said, you know what? They probably need 1 big move. If that's a rotation piece or a bat, I think that would help us. This team needs a big rotation arm and a big bat. If you're not going to do those 2 things, what are we doing? But hey, we're going to hold on to our prospects. They're untouchable. When are we ever going to use them as assets? It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Ricardo and Dave. And again, if you guys haven't watched the last couple of shows, I've told you when it comes towards deadline, close to the deadline, or the Mets are playing a team, I usually, if it's necessary or I want to be interested in what they're talking about, I've been listening to Phillies talk radio, sports talk radio, right? Not because I like it, because I'm generally want to know what they're thinking in Philly. And every Philly fan that called up, they need to make a big move. They got to make some big block. They need a blockbuster move. Every one of them. And then, the other day, Dave Dombrowski had a spot on the radio, on Sports Talk Radio, in one of their shows. I forgot which one. And he even said it on the broadcast in one of their games when they spoke to him. The exact same words. We are going for it. There will not be a move that we will say no to. Blatantly saying it. Now, the Phillies, as I said multiple times, have gone to the World Series, the NLCS, and the NLDS the last 3 years. They're on the verge of being a team that might have to play a wild card round. That is very possible, even if they win the division. They're getting older, and Dombrowski said this as well. He goes, we're getting older. We got a lot of free agents coming up after this year. And it's either now or never. Harper's been constantly injured. Some top, guys that have been in this team a while that were top prospects haven't really performed to the level that everybody expected. They spent a lot of money. And this is the time for them to go all in. And they've done it the last couple of seasons. Now, it didn't come up to, winning the World Series. But again, if your GM makes the move necessary and gets top 2 or 3 guys on the market to help your team, and those guys don't perform, it's not on the GM. It's on the player. Carlos Estevez was a big get for their bullpen that was struggling. He fell apart in the playoffs. Is that Dave Dombrowski's fault? No. He was one of the best arms on the market. He just didn't get it done. That's on the player. So I'm confused on the plan because David Stearns talks about prospects like it's life or death. Okay, if that's your way of going about running the team, fine. You don't want to spend money on a rotation. You don't want to spend money on the bullpen. Fine. But your needs are drastically needed in the month of June, and you got top pitching prospects and you don't use them. So you glorify these guys. You talk about these guys in the farm system and how much you want to build a farm system for what? You're not trading them and you're not using them to help your team. So I don't understand the plan. And we will see, because it's about time. And I said this many times. There is no excuses for Stearns or this team anymore. No excuses. You can't have an half-ass deadline, and I'm going to hear Mets fans saying, well, you didn't give up this guy. You didn't give up that guy. Fuck that. Because the last time I checked, there's no guarantee that Pete Alonso is going to be on this team after this year. Brandon Nimmo, another year older. Lindor, another year older. McNeil, who knows, will be on this team after this year. I can't wait until Pete Alonso, Lindor, and Nimmo are 34 years old, running out of their prime years, and now these guys are going to come up? How's that going to work? David, you can have Alvarez all you want. But Torrens is playing every day because Alvarez has failed. Don't blame Torrens. What do you expect from Torrens, who's a backup life catcher? Like, we're blaming Torrens for what reason? We know he's a backup catcher. We knew he was going to get exposed offensively. That's not a shock. Same thing with Tyrone Taylor, a fourth outfielder. That's what he's good at. Not playing every day. Like, let's stop. Torrens is playing every day because Francisco Alvarez couldn't get his head out of his ass. That's on Alvarez. Don't blame Torrens. Like, what are you expecting Torrens to do here? He's a backup catcher. Probably one of the better backup catchers in baseball. But when he has to start every day, he's going to get exposed. That's on Francisco Alvarez. Same thing that goes for Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna. You know why I'm not necessarily blaming them? Because Mark Vientos failed. And that's the reason why these guys are getting run around the mill over here, constantly in and out of lineups, because nobody can actually perform. That's on Vientos. That's on Alvarez. Yeah, Torrens pretty good today. You know, he's a contact guy. But he's been exposed offensively. He's constantly getting beat up every day because we really don't have a backup catcher. Because Torrens is our backup catcher who's starting every day. He's getting beat up behind the plate. So this guy's a walking wound trying to hit a baseball. And he does it good once a week. He looked good today. Yeah, exactly. And again, guys, the Mets weren't sending Alvarez down because his lack of offense, even though that should have been the point. They sent him down to work on his defense. So everybody's talking about, 10 home runs since he's been back in the AAA. That wasn't the reason why they brought him to AAA. They brought him down because of his defense, his problems defensively. Haven't heard a word about that. Right? All I see is highlights about home runs. The problems that the Mets have with him defensively, where are those videos? You see the problem with that? Where are those videos of him blocking balls like you're supposed to block balls behind the plate instead of backhand and everything? Instead of trying to frame every pitch, get in front of the fucking ball instead of backhand and everything. Where are those videos? Oh, there's none. You know why? Because he's probably not good at it and probably hasn't learned his lesson. But hey, let's show the video of all his 10 home runs every freaking day. I don't care. Alvarez has failed this team. And now Torrens is playing every single day and getting exposed. And people are complaining about Torrens. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Come on, man. You got to be smarter than that. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Look at the comments on them home run videos. Why is Alvarez not up? Come on, guys. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. It's the same nonsense over and over and over again. You're sipping on that, you're guzzling down that Kool-Aid that they're giving you, and you're falling for this nonsense. It's silly to me, and I do wonder sometimes how many more times you're going to continue to believe in this nonsense from this Mets organization, including David Stearns. He believes in the prospects, but God forbid putting up these pitching prospects when you're in need of pitching. But hey, Davinsky, Waddell, God knows who else, Tidwell, who they clearly don't like. So let's throw him out there to fail. But our top pitching prospects, whoa, can't bring them up. God forbid we hurt their confidence. What? So you're not bringing up the prospects when you need them. You're not trading them to bring in better players for your needs. So what are we doing? Status quo? Staying put? Might as well. Because every time David Stearns talks, he believes in his team. Congratulations. You built it. You might as well believe in it. No money rotation, no money bullpen. You get no money and no results. That is what you get. Haven't we learned from the Tampa Bay Rays? Yeah, it might get you through a season. It might sneak you into the playoffs, but it fails every time in the playoffs. This has not been a shock. The Brewers, yeah, gets into the playoffs every year, but they consistently fail in the playoffs because of the lack of money that they spend in areas where is the best chance of winning in the playoffs, which is most of the time pitching, and you constantly don't spend on that. Or if you need a big bat, you can't get it because your owner is cheap, and you get lesser players because of the money. It's not successful. Those teams don't win. Right? The Miami Marlins win 20 years apart because all their prospects work out at the same time. Not a successful model. If it was, they would win 2 or 3 championships in a row. It's the teams that make the big moves that consistently go deep into the playoffs and get to a World Series, win a World Series. It's the trades that happen at the deadlines, the big trades at the deadline, that make a difference. When you got too many holes and you brought it into the season with the holes that I foreshadowed for everybody to see. Go back to March 30th, March 31st. I did a show with Chris for our opening day pregame show. And we talked about the roster. And my concerns were the same thing then than they are on July 19th, 4 months ago. Nothing has changed except now this team also needs a big bat, which is the worst case scenario for this organization and what they need to do. Because I think David Stearns would have figured out, all right, let's get a high leverage bullpen arm and a high leverage and a top starter. You can figure that out at a deadline. But when your offense, and again, I blame the players on this one, not David Stearns. This should be a well-oiled machine, this offense. They're not. Because they're not over 99 games of the season, now David Stearns has to worry about getting a bat as well. I don't believe in my right mind he's going to make all those moves. He probably has to pick 2. And in my opinion, I'd rather get the rotation arm and the bat. You can talk about bullpen all you want. The bullpen is not going to help you enough if your rotation doesn't get length, along with good starts. Look at Clay Holmes' line. Is that okay? Is that okay from a guy that we need so badly because nobody else is any good? Consistently fails in the 4th inning, throws 25 to 30 pitches every game he pitches in the 4th inning, goes into the 5th inning, gets a 1-2-3, comes out in the 6th, can't get an out, leaves people on base, and let's blame the bullpen. No, it's Clay Holmes' fault. 5 1/3, 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned. That is not a quality start. That is a bad start. That's consistently what you get from Clay Holmes ever since the end of May. That is what you consistently got. That's all you've gotten from Clay Holmes. You bring back Sean Manaea too early, so you can't pitch him more than 70 pitches, which is hilarious. What's the point of rehab starts if you're not going to build up his pitching past 80 pitches? It's pointless. Kodai Senga, the walking wounded, is another guy who throws a ton of pitches, never goes deep into games. David, I'm trying to catch up. Rob, if you're the GM, what would you do? I already said what I would do. I don't care about prospects. I'm not saying trade not every top 10 prospects, but there is no reason with the team you have to not go all in when every one of your competitors in the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Cubs, probably the Brewers, are all looking like they're aggressive. A couple of those teams I just mentioned are in on Eugenio Suarez. It would be nice if he doesn't end up in the National League. That's just more things we have to worry about. So I said this. There is no reason why you can't get a big bat. There's no reason why you can't get a big rotation arm. There is no reason why you can't get a big bullpen arm. What's stopping you? Prospect hugging. That's David Stearns. And you know what? When I have Chris come back on and when Zach comes back on, getting closer and closer to the deadline, and I'm going to talk about that, talk with them about that report about untouchable players, is a huge problem in my book. Now, I'm not going to speak for them, so I'm not going to put words in their mouth. I would wonder how they feel about that. And I know, Chris really likes Jonathan, and that's understandable. And I believe Zach said we don't trade Jet Williams, which is fine. That's their opinion. I disagree, but I understand their thought process. But you can't have 4 or 5 of your top prospects untouchable and expect to make major moves to fill this team with better players, not average players, better players. You should not let Mitch Keller go to the Phillies or the Cubs or the Brewers or the Dodgers. Sometimes you have to make moves to avoid them going to other teams in your league. That's it. Sometimes you have to make that move. And sometimes, and by the way, guys, uncomfortable trades, when you got a trade prospect you probably don't want to trade, yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. But more often than not, that proven player helps you win more than the prospects actually become players you all thought. It's rare that PCA became what he became. Right? Where's Kelnick? Right? As everybody talks about PCA, what about Kelnick? So, unfortunately, I've been very honest with you guys. I don't trust David Stearns making the big deals. I thought he can make one move a couple of weeks ago and we can get by. There needs to be 2 big moves for me to feel anywhere near satisfied with the deadline that we can move forward and be a better team. I just don't feel comfortable with David Stearns doing that job. So, with that said, with all that big rant, the Mets lose 5-2. They lose the series to the Reds, coming out of the All-Star break at home with 80+ thousand fans over the last 2 nights. And it wasn't the Mets fans not trying to be loud. They were loud. They were trying to root this team on. And they definitely booed him, which they deserve. They lose 5-2. They lose the series. Tomorrow is game 100, folks. 63 games left in the season. The Mets are 55-44, 11 games over 500. The Phillies, last time I checked, they were winning 7-5. So by tomorrow, we could be a game and a half out. But tomorrow, with David Peterson on the mound, it seems like David Peterson is always on the mound when a team that is struggling like the Mets needs a stopper. The Mets have lost 20 of their last 30 games. Can't get out of their own way. The offense still sucks. The pitching is still lackluster. Can't go deep into games. Overuses the bullpen because of that reason. And nothing has been going right. This is the collective failure throughout the organization from top to bottom. Somebody needs to figure it out. Somebody needs to wake up this team. And sometimes a big trade might wake up this team. That lackluster team in 2015 that couldn't get out of their own way? Were one of the worst teams offensively in baseball? Figure out to hang around in the division. And it took one big trade to wake up that team. Maybe this team needs a big move. Because, let's be honest, since Alonso's been here, Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, The Mets never made a big trade with these guys, bringing in a big name to help this team. How about doing that and giving them that boost of energy that they probably need? It's status quo. It's a problem. Since we have this core, the Mets have never made a big trade for a bat or even a rotation arm to make them, to put them over the top, or at least hope to put them over the top. When you make a big trade, it shows your players that you actually believe in them. Because talking, like David Stearns like to talk and saying constantly he believes in his team, but doesn't make the big move, actions are louder than words. We've heard that phrase before in all aspects of life. Actions are louder than words. You got to make an action somehow, some way. Make this team wake up. Make this team believe. We will see what's going to happen. We're less than 2 weeks away. So much has gone on with this Mets team. A lot of ups, very many downs, and still a fan base that should be very frustrated with this team coming out of the All-Star break. With that said, guys, thank you for tuning into the Mets postgame show right here on the channel and on X. Chris will be back on the pregame. Chris will be back on the postgame with myself. So we'll definitely have another perspective. And we can definitely go back and forth, as this postgame has been over an hour. Hopefully I have a voice by tomorrow, as I feel like I'm losing it by the day. But I'll see you tomorrow for the pregame show. Hopefully the Mets can salvage the series here with at least one win. We will have Chris's opinion in the pregame and postgame. Have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets. David Stearns, make a big trade. Please make me feel better and prove me wrong. Have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets. Thank you for tuning into the channel and the show. Have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed